ENCOR 31 Summary Challenge, Network Programmability Protocols. Which two of the following options are the main data encoding formats that are commonly used in application programming interfaces? Okay, so data encoding formats in APIs. They are definitely JSON and XML. HTML is not really used in APIs. It's used for user representation of web pages. PDF or docs, they are for documents, of course. Which of the following is an open source Python-based software for event-driven IT automation? Okay, so Puppet and Chef, they are not based on Python, they are based on Ruby. Ansible and SaltStack, they are infrastructure automation tools which are based on Python. And I think they are both open source. I do not remember that course explicitly states that Ansible is open source, but it does so for SaltStack. But I know for a fact that Ansible is indeed open source. Event-driven. So maybe SaltStack is event-driven. However, Ansible is kind of also event-driven. Can be, of course. I think I will go with the SaltStack option because the course materials themselves explicitly state for SaltStack that it is open source. And I do not remember it doing that for Ansible. So yeah, I hope that's the answer. Which of the following Yang models ensures that features mapped to a given platform are still model-driven, meaning APIs can still be used for those features? Okay, we are selecting Yang models. Features mapped to a given platform. Features mapped to a given platform are still model-driven, and APIs can still be used for those features. So I guess that's industry standard. APIs, okay. Features mapped to a given platform. So we have a specific platform, and there are some features, and they are still model-driven. So, okay, or maybe this is Cisco platform specific, meaning APIs can still be used for those features. Yeah, it sounds like it's platform specific, right? So we have some features on a platform. Mapped to a given platform. So that tells me that these features are not common, they are not standard. I hope I'm reading this well. Features mapped to a given platform are still model-driven. So basically, the way I understand this question is we have a given platform, a specific platform with some specific features on it, and we want the API capability to also cover these additional specific features, right? However, the standard specifications, they do not include these platform-specific features. So then it has to be Cisco platform-specific. That's my way of thinking about it, at least. Which two of the following options are tools that require a software agent to be installed on all devices you want to manage? All right, so out of these REST and SSL, they are not really infrastructure automation tools. So REST is a methodology and SSL is just the protocol. So we should choose between Ansible, Chef, and Puppet, of course, because these are automation tools, and they require, so these are which are agent-based. Ansible is agentless, and Chef and Puppet, they are agent-based, they require installation of an agent on the target device. Which best describes platforms or solutions that are driven by an object model but do not use Yang? Okay, so platforms or solutions that are driven by an object model but do not use Yang. I have no idea. To me, if platforms or solutions, at least those which are covered in the course, they are object model driven, they typically would have a Yang model written for them and published. So let's check our options. Model-driven programmability. Well, to me, if it's based or driven by object model, it's just model-driven programmability, whether it uses Yang to describe this model or uses maybe something different to describe it. However, I really struggle to think about what else could be used and why would you need something different to describe a model. It would be Yang, right? Vendor-specific attributes. They are object model, but do not use Yang. I don't know, maybe. Custom engineering and structured engineering. What are all these things? Are they even mentioned or covered in the course? I don't remember any of those, really. So it's vendor-specific attributes, or maybe, I think I will go with option 1 here. Just model-driven programmability, maybe as a general term. And if a platform or solution driven by object model, I think it doesn't matter whether it uses Yang specifically or something different, whatever that is, to describe this model. That would still qualify as model-driven programmability. Anyway, this is an interesting question. I will go with model-driven programmability because other options here, I don't like these engineering and vendor-specific attributes. Platforms, how attributes can describe platforms. Okay, anyway, let's keep model-driven programmability. Question 6, which of the following options is not a requirement for next generation configuration management? Okay, so next generation configuration management is all about automation, programmable interfaces, and infrastructure management and automation tools. So something here should be not falling to this domain, because which of the option is not a requirement? What's the required? Provide easier to use management interfaces. Yes, management interfaces should be easier to use compared to elaborate CLIs and more automatable. Support client-side validation and error checking. Yes, because these automation tools need or should include some tools which can validate configuration changes on the client side before these changes are pushed into the network infrastructure, into production, right? So some validation, at least I think, yeah, it's primarily we are talking here about validating the user-provided input and configurations and stuff according to the object models, right? For example, the VLAN number, which is typed in by a user or input by a user, should fall into this range of integer numbers and things like that. And there is a model which describes that, against which this validation can be done. Separate configuration and operational data. Yes, this is as well a very good idea. The operational data would typically be flowing just one way from device, from platform into the management system. things like status of interfaces, error counts, packet counts, and things like that. And configuration would be separate, and configuration also would be writable, right? Strong reliance on CLI. Gotcha. So this is definitely the answer here, because these next generation configuration management systems should not rely on the CLI. So there should be no strong reliance on CLI. And finally, be both human and machine friendly. Yeah, and this is also a property of next generation configuration management. The interface should be also machine friendly, because CLI is built with a human as a consumer in mind, right? Yeah, so machine friendliness allows for programmability, for automation, and such kind of improvements. Question 7. Which of the following options is not a property of Yang? Okay, Yang is protocol independent. This is correct. Yang is an abstract description, abstract model of entities, and it can be expressed in different formats, in different languages, and can be carried by different protocols. For example, netconf and restconf, they are different protocols, and they both use Yang for model definition. Extensible and modular. Yang is extensible and modular, right? So, for example, vendor-specific features and properties can be additionally added as extensions. Analogous to XML schema and SMI for SNMP. I do not think I know what SMI for SNMP stands for, but I know what XML schema is. XML schema is a description on the data structure and data model, which should be adhered to by a given XML set of XML documents, right? So which properties are there, which data types they are, what are constraints for these value ranges and things like that. So yeah, and that's definitely a property of Yang. Yang does exactly that. I will need to check what SMI for SNMP is. It should be something similar, right? Some information, specification of properties, something like that. Does not provide semantics to better define data. So semantics is providing sense for data. Yes, so this is our answer here. Because it says does not, and this is the double negation. It's not a property, and not doing that is not a property, because Yang actually does provide semantics for better data definition. Yep, that's the answer. Which data type requires you to supply a key to extract a value? It is Python dictionary. String and integers. Integer is a scalar data type. It doesn't have any index at all. Strings can be treated as indexable, I think it's called, or yeah, something like that. But strings would use the integer as the index, as well as lists would do. And dictionary requires the string key to be used to identify values in it. So dictionary. Which netconf operation loads all or part of a configuration to the specified data store? So it's neither of get config or get. They don't do any write type of operations or loading. So we have to choose between copy config and edit config. And I think the differentiator here between copy config and edit config, that copy config loads the full configuration from one data store to another. So it operates with the full configuration. And edit config can deal with parts of configuration. And here is the part of the question which is important here. It loads all or part of a configuration. So that's why, for that purpose, to load a part, we should use edit config. Which platform is a virtual version of iOS XE software for cloud deployments that helps extend the enterprise network environment of the cloud? All right, we have Cisco CSR 1000V, and this is the correct answer. That should be 1000V or 1KV is the virtual cloud native or cloud-oriented Cisco router, which runs iOS XE. Cisco APKM is a network infrastructure controller, which I think is already end of life and being replaced by DNA Center. ASR 1000, not sure, but if my memory doesn't fail me, this is an kind of advanced high performance hardware router, ASR 1000. So that's not what we want. And ASA 5500. This is the series of network security appliances. And these, I think, are also end of life. So CSR 1KV is the correct answer here. Which of the following HTTP verbs is normally used to update or replace an already existing resource? All right. So we have get. Get is used to just read a resource, right? We have put, we have post. Post is used to create a new resource. So we have to choose between put and patch. And the difference between put and patch is put would typically update the whole resource, right? So there is an existing entity and we just send the whole new version or whole new replacement for this entity with all its attributes included. What patch does, it allows for the partial update of specific properties of this entity, right? So that's the difference between put and patch. And let's read the question again. Which of the following HTTP verbs is normally used to update or replace an already existing resource? So update or replace. Just because of the fact that this statement has this replace, I would say it's probably put, because you would not use patch to replace an existing resource, right? Why? Because you would typically send the whole new copy of this existing resource. Yeah, and update can be done in either way, put or patch. Of course, depends on the API implementation. Yeah, but I will go with put. Which of the following is a language for data modeling and RPCs? Which of the following is a language of data modeling and remote procedure calls? All right, so the language here, netconf is not a language for data modeling, it's a protocol. Yang, I think, is a good candidate. JSON, XML. So JSON and XML, they are data formats. It's interesting. So language for data modeling and RPC. So Yang is a language for data modeling. However, it's RPCs, they rely on XML, right? However, I think RPCs can also be described as part of Yang. So I'm choosing between Yang and XML. Is Yang a language though? It is, right? It just can be represented in different formats like YAML or JSON or XML, whatever. Yeah, so RPCs here are kind of throwing me away a bit, but definitely if it would be just, hey, what is the language for data modeling? I would have no second thoughts, Yang is. Yeah, I think I will have to stick with this option. XML is not really a language for data modeling, right? It's just a format of information representation. Yeah, and that's why Yang is a better option for me here. Which of the following RESTconf parameters is used to specify the number of nest levels that are returned in a response for a get method? It is depth. I guess just need to remember that. But you would put question mark in the end of the API call URL, and then depth equals, and then the value like 1, 2, 3, and so on. And you indicate how deep you want to extract the items from the data structure. Okay, so the answer here is depth.